an Ellistone Freestylers production.
Jesus. So we're coming in to the end of the season now. New segment. We are coming to the end of the season now. There is two games left, yeah. And obviously Chelsea this season have underperformed, obviously, well, massively. They got to a League Cup final in February, which they lost. Shush. And they've also lost massive games this season as well. There was the 3-1, I think it was, at the start of the season to West Ham. They've lost to Everton. They've had some massive losses. 5-0 to Arsenal. And the future of Chelsea, like their future team, with Pochettino still being the manager, I don't think it helps Pochettino being the manager of Chelsea because he's obviously former Tottenham manager. I'd say you appoint Gallagher as captain. You make Gallagher captain because he's done more than Reece James has this season. You make Petrovic number one goalkeeper and you extend Palmer's contract. What do you think?
I think they'll probably do better next season. I think the recruitment policy was absolutely mad. They just seem to just keep buying players, but not really the players that are needed. Excuse me. Obviously, they've got an absolute superstar in Cole Palmer. I'm not sure how much longer they'd be able to hold on to him because he seems like an ambitious kind of lad. He's going to want to be playing in the Champions League. He's going to want to be playing in Europe. So I can't see that he will stay there for much longer if they carry on like this. But something tells me that they will be much better next season.
Yeah, totally agree with that. I think obviously since the sanctions that I think it was UEFA put in place for Chelsea in 2021, I think it was. Obviously with what's been going on with conflict over the last 2 years, Roman Abramovich had to give up stewardship of the club, and there was threats that their sponsorship deals that they had with 3 and Nike at the time would also be taken away. And I think that affected the club massively because they had to obviously get a new owner, which we obviously know doesn't have the slightest clue about football. I mean, Todd Bowley, when they were losing, I think it was like 3-0 on aggregate or something. It might have been less when they were playing Real Madrid last season in Champions League. But he thought they would win that game with the team they had. Obviously didn't because Chelsea were not out of the Champions League. And I just think Todd Bowley doesn't have the slightest clue about football, obviously, because I get that because football isn't the main sport in America, and he is from there. But I think he needs to stop buying players that he doesn't need. He needs to improve upon the positions that are weak. Yeah, what's your take on that?
Yeah, like I said earlier on, they just kept seeming to just buy random players without really addressing any of the issues that they've got. Till Cole Palmer, they didn't really buy a proven striker. But I do think they will do better next season.
Yeah, totally. I think they could aim for maybe top 5, maybe 4th place next season. Yeah, but I think if you take Cole Palmer's goals and everything he's done for Chelsea this season away, I think they do a lot worse. I think if you take Cole Palmer out of the team, pretend Chelsea never signed him, I think they could have been maybe close to a relegation fight. Because maybe not a relegation fight, but I think it would have been bottom half of the table.
Possibly, but they have got Cole Palmer, so like I say, I don't think he will stay there much longer. I get the impression that he's very ambitious and he won't want to be there if they're not in the Champions League. He won't want to be there very long. So they desperately need to keep hold of him because he's by far and away their best attacking player. We know that Thiago Silva will be retiring or going back to Brazil at the end of the season. So yeah, but I just have a feeling that Chelsea will do much better next season.
Yeah, and what I said about Conor Gallagher in the build-up to this episode, I think Conor Gallagher, I mean, he's obviously integral for this team, and I think he could go on to be a great player for Chelsea. And I think they do need to change the captain of the club because Reece James has been out injured for most of the season, and I don't think Reece James is much of a leader anyway. Just because, I mean, yeah, I just don't think Reece James fits the criteria of a captain. What do you think to that?
Well, he's never fit. Can't be having much of an influence on the pitch and on the team if he's never fit and he never plays. So that's all there is to it. He's just very, very, very unfortunate with injuries. He just never seems to be fit. So, talk at one point there were people comparing him to Trent Alexander-Arnold, which was absolutely ridiculous. I don't know. I don't know. I just think it's a funny club. It's a funny setup. We see the way that they had that argument the other week over who was taking the penalty. I don't know. It just doesn't seem a right setup for me. But I do think they will do better next season.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know what the situation is with the goalkeeper situation, whether he will keep playing Petrovic or whether Robert Sanchez will come back into the team. I think he, in my personal opinion, he should keep Petrovic in the team because Petrovic has been outstanding for Chelsea. And, well, the midfield as well. They've got too many players in that midfield. Enzo Fernandez, who's done naff all season. Caicedo, who is slowly improving. Where Lavia is, I don't know. Might as well start putting missing posters up for him because I don't know where he is. Yeah, it's just a mess. In other parts of the club, it's good. And then with the player situation, I think they have way too many players. But yeah, Enzo Fernandez has done nothing. Well, 0 to nothing. Basically the same thing all season for Chelsea. And they bought him for nearly £130 million. Yeah. What do you think to Enzo Fernandez from what you've seen from him so far?
Poor. Incredibly poor. The amount of money it cost, it's one of those. I've seen it loads of times where a player has a really good World Cup or international tournament, everybody gets carried away with how good they are. They're paid over the odds, and it's turned out that he's really quite average, I think. So I do think that Liverpool dodged the bullet with Lavia and Caicedo, considering we paid £35 million for Alexis McAllister. Yeah, Fernandes, I think he's been one of the biggest disappointments of the season, to be fair.
Well, yeah. I think Chelsea just don't have... I think Chelsea need, over the summer, to work out what they're going to do with this squad. And also the future on Pochettino as well. I don't know where that's leading to. Whether they're going to sack him or not. It looks like he's going to stay. But he's even said in the past that he wishes he could manage Tottenham again, which is not what you want to hear from your manager who has managed the team in the past. But yeah, Chelsea need a rebuild. Well, they need to offload some players, really. In my opinion, Mudryk needs to go, not good enough. Cashing on Fernandes. They need to at least loan Lavia out. He's going to be one of them players. They just need a massive... They need a clear out of players and sort out what they're going to do with the squad. That is... We're now going to move on to next segment of the podcast.